right, welcome everyone to the HerdCon Popcast. I am one of your hosts, Michelle Alford, and I'm here today with
Heather Lauer.
Heather Lauer, and our special guest,
Joshua Smith.
Joshua Smith. All right, guys. I don't know if you know this, but Joshua Smith is a local author from the Parkersburg, Vienna area of West Virginia. So we're going to be talking to him a little bit today about, part of what it's like being an author in West Virginia, an indie author at that, because, when you're self-published, that's a whole new ball game.
Ball gown too, depending.
Yeah, that too. But yeah, talk to us, Josh. What is the first thing our listeners should know about you?
Well, like I said, my name is Joshua E.B. Smith, and I've lived in Vienna, West Virginia my whole life. I've been here for 41 years. Somehow I just turned 41 like 2 days ago. I still don't know how I made it this far. I'm not sure why I made it this far either. I think we're all asking ourselves that question anymore. As far as who I am just the quintessential random guy you see on the street. There is not a whole lot special to me on the surface. I do things that people consider special. I don't consider myself special. When I was in my 20s, I had a workplace accident. I broke my neck. I have unfortunately been on disability for most of my adult life. And about 5-6 years ago, I discovered self-publishing. I discovered that there was a market for the type of fantasy and the type of sci-fi that I enjoy reading. Not just reading, but also consuming in terms of playing games, watching movies, things of that nature. And since writing a book is something I can usually do on my own schedule, since I'm not beholden to a publisher, I'm not beholden to an editor or any deadlines other than the ones I put on myself, I can work around the problems that I have as a result of my neck. Now, I'm not making enough money to get off a disability yet. I've been doing this for about 5 years. I'm still not in profit, but I'm getting closer every year. 2 years ago, I was in the toilet $2,000 for the year. Last year, I was only in the hole about a couple hundred. It's just one of those things where the more products you make, the more books you put out, the more revenue you can earn. And I do hope I can turn this around and be a success story. I mean, it's my long and short-term goal both to be able to no longer have to need public support to just survive on a day-to-day basis, but also to draw some attention to how difficult it can be for somebody who is on disability to find a way to get back into the workforce, especially in this economy where you can't necessarily give up all the benefits you're receiving from social grants or disability or whatever and go straight into the workforce when you're not necessarily getting enough hours at enough of a wage to counteract what you're living with to make up the cost difference. It's a struggle that largely goes unnoticed by just about everybody. It's not something that gets talked about. I mean, yes, does the federal government and the state government offer ways to get from a point of requiring, public assistance to off of public assistance? Yes, it does. But like anything else, once you leave the framework of the institution and you're responsible, again, for your own bottom line, there's a lot of things going on in the world that we don't have control over that affect our ability to get the bottom line. That's true for somebody on disability or somebody off a disability. So like I said, just my hope is to be able to turn this into something that I can do enough that pays the bills, and then I can use it as a platform to show kind of how hard it is for people to go from not being able to break even to break even while trying to overcome, both the system and whatever it is they've been fighting through. For me, it's chronic migraines. For others, it can be anything from, spinal stenosis to, there's a long laundry list. Let me go that way. We all know those things. So that's basically my personal story. So while I'm writing, I'm also trying to find ways to get back to my local community. I volunteer with two amazing organizations, the Ghostbusters West Virginia Division, which has been a West Virginia tradition now for over a decade, really, providing entertainment as Ghostbusters, dressing up in Ghostbuster cosplay, doing birthday parties, parades, festivals, conventions. They've been at HerdCon before. We do the Mothman Festival every year, uh, Mountain State Pop Expo, and a bunch of others all through around Charleston, Huntington, and up and down the valley. I also am running a cosplay group in the Vienna Parkersburg area called Creative Cosplay of the Mid Ohio Valley, also known as C8 Cosplay. And we specialize in raising money to support local food banks in our area. We typically aim for the fall and winter season because while there is no good time of the year to be hungry, um, being hungry and not being financially solvent between October, November, and December, when all the holidays are food, food, food all the time. Everywhere you look, it's food, whether it's candy in October or turkey and chicken in November or pies and stuff in December. It's all food all the time. Everywhere you go, it's food. And if you don't have money to afford buying food for your family, it's all depression all the time. Everywhere you go, it's depression because you feel like a failure. And I say this as a person who has been in situations where I have cried in the middle of the Walmart grocery aisle trying to figure out if I can afford a way to buy a can of olives for a month. I have been in a situation where I used to consider paper towels as a luxury good. You know, it was everything. I'm just using rags around the house to clean up stuff because you can't always afford, a $5 roll of paper towels when you've got other bills to pay. You're kidding me? And that kind of thing sucks. There's no nice way to put it. It sucks. So for us up here in Vienna Parkersburg, and we do have volunteers all the way from Portsmouth, Ohio, to Morgantown, to all the way up in I don't want to say Weirton, Wheeling, West Virginia, where they come, and far south is Charleston, Huntington, and areas below, where they come in to help us raise funds to support buying food in conjunction with a couple of parades that we do in the area. So we buy food, raise money, we take it, deliver it to the parade organizers, and they make sure that the food pantries get it. It is my personal pride and joy to say that we have raised, we've been the number one float for food donations the last 5 years running for the Parkersburg Christmas Parade, which is a major event up here in town. And it is something that I am immensely proud of, not only the people around us who show up at our events, but also the people in our community and beyond who are helping with those events. And I do have to give a thank you to HerdCon because I know you guys share our stuff on the regular. So thank you for that. It is greatly appreciated.
Welcome. You're very welcome. We like to support all efforts that, for one, just the efforts of our vendors, but also the organizations in our area, especially charitable organizations in our area that are also with that pop culture kind of bend. I mean, it's our bread and butter as far as, that's what we are all about, is the pop culture, and seeing it give back to communities. Always a pleasure.
And I do think it makes a big deal, and we'll circle back onto this later because I know you have some questions about it, but let's go ahead and start with what you guys brought me on here for.
All right. Do you want to start, Heather?
Yeah. I want to mention, I've seen the cover for your new book, and first of all, I'd like some details regarding the new book. Okay. And I'd also like to know, what kind of software did you use for the new book, for the cover? Right, well,
first, here's the cover for anybody who hasn't seen it, Necromancer's Bullet. I do not have a firm release date for it yet. I do not have pre-orders available for it yet. However, you can go to my website, sagadmw.com/email.htm, and sign up for the Dead Men Emailing newsletter. And when you do, you will get the first chapter of this book for free delivered to your inbox. You got to click on a couple of things, type of stuff. I do not have a firm date for release. I'm gonna be honest with you on that. To answer your first question, though, where did I get the cover done? I hire a guy. His name is Christian Bennelton. He runs the website coversbychristian.com. He is not cheap. I will be straight up honest with you about that. He's actually based out of Indonesia, I believe. Indonesia or one of those other. I'm like 90% sure Indonesian. I don't want to say anything, but it's in that general area. He does absolutely incredible work. He has done covers for all 7 of my major novels so far, and with Bullet being number 8. That cover alone cost me $475. And to say that I am impressed by it, I honestly believe this is the best cover the man has ever done. And he has done some absolutely jaw-dropping covers. Now, I will say, and this may be something that gets me a little bit of flack for, I actually use one of the AI art generators to come up with the concept, just the concept, something that gave me an idea to send to him to build off of. He did not use that in his work in any way, shape, or form that I am aware of. I've never known him to. Let me be 100% perfectly clear, because I know there's a lot of pushback on that. But normally when I do a mock-up for him, I'm copying, pasting, 5, 6 different really atrocious pictures that I'm stealing online, putting them in a Photoshop file and be like, here, do this, only make it look like something that a 3rd grader didn't do. And he's always been able to provide great results. But I do kind of feel that being able to provide him something that very much looked like my idea got me exactly what I was looking for, because I don't think he could have done a better job on that if I had tried to meet my goal.
Yeah, I love that cover. When you released it online, I was my jaw did drop, because it's so vibrant. I like I love the color concept on it, everything. It definitely makes me want to crack it open and read. So definitely kudos to Christian for his work on that. That was awesome.
Here's the horrifying part of this, and this is going to sound awful. When I get onto Christian's waiting list, usually there's between a 4 and 6 month wait period. So I commissioned him all the way back in May, June of last year to get on his schedule for December. If that tells you anything, how popular the man is. I mean, he does New York Times bestseller covers. I mean, there's no question about his skill or talent. So 6 months waiting, it normally takes me about 6 months to write a book. I am not a book of the month author. I have tried. I do not do it. In what I have learned in my years is that monthly book authors are usually people who are doing stuff that are more 50 to 60,000 word lengths. Now, if I buckle down and I absolutely positively grind through it, I can usually do that in a month. But I have to be 100% on my A game. Everything else has to leave me the hell alone for a month. And it's like, maybe I can get out 60,000 words. Unfortunately, most of my novels from between 120 and 140. Yay. So I get 2 months of drafting, then I get a month of rewriting, and then it's a month with back and forth with my editor, and then it's a few extra weeks of promotion before it's actually released. So typically speaking, it's about once every 6 months. Unfortunately, my year last year was really, really, really busy. My last release, this hurt my bottom line. This is why I wasn't in profit last year. My last release was in February of 2022. I have passed the date of my last release, and that hurt a lot. I got started writing this. I hit a wall sometime mid last summer, but then I was also moving my mom from one nursing facility to another, and there was a whole nightmare situation around that. I had some absolutely bizarro land house repairs that had to be done. Like, I made the mistake of running a bag of kale down my garbage disposal. And that ended up being an absolute nightmare situation of nightmare situations. And like in the same week that my washing machine decided to fry itself, and so did my toilet. And I was just like, all right, I've lost the fight with the god of plumbing. PVC has forsaken me. And it's just a series of stuff like that. Then late August, I came down with COVID. I missed getting diagnosed with it in time to get antivirals. I was ridiculous. They like doubled my isolation period because I was that awesome with it. I didn't get any work done during then. I had house repairs that I was supposed to do, so then I was rushing through the end of September while trying to hold my head up, recovering to get house repairs done. Then it was fundraising season. And then just as fundraising season wraps up, I was planning on getting my flu shot, and 3 days before I planned to get my flu shot, I came down with the flu, complete with visual hallucinations. Hell yes, for fever dreams. And then by that point, it was the end of November. My fundraising period ends the first weekend of December. And then suddenly December, the first weekend is over. And I'm just like, okay, what am I going to do? I have like a third of this book written. And oh, hey, I got this. Oh, it's Christian. I'm due. So some of this stuff. And he whips out this amazing cover. And it's like, hey, when can I post it? I don't know. I mean, I've never had any responses to my covers really before. I mean, yeah, my fans like, oh, hey, new cover, that's awesome. So he posts it in his group, and then suddenly the floodgates open, which makes me really excited for the new novel. But it ain't done yet. I'm not at the end of the first draft yet, and it's like, okay, cool. I now have expectations. Oh hell! It's like random strangers are like, "Where do I sign up to read this? When is it coming out? Can I get it now?" Like, I have to deliver a finished project. Nobody told me I had to be done. It's and
indie publishing.
and then because I'm me, I found a way to make it worse.
Oh no.
So I mentioned that my last release was in February of 2022. It was the fourth book in a 4-book series. Talk about it in a sec. And I'm a big believer in box sets for digital editions, because if you have Kindle, it is a lot easier and cheaper for the user to buy a box set for $10 or just have one file to download for Kindle Unlimited. And while I do lose money if you buy a box set, I'm not going to lie, it's access to a whole nother audience. All right. So I wanted to have the start a staggered release for my titles for this year, so I can at least do more than one thing. And I had initially planned to launch it in October. October came and went. That didn't happen. Planned on doing it in December. Again, the flu and everything else. Putting together a box digital set is not super hard. I do all of my own book formatting. I do all of my processing in terms of, I'm not hiring out the process of getting my manuscript turned into an HTML file, modified with the appropriate CSS, and then formatted as an EPUB and then published on Amazon. I have learned how to do that on my own. It's not the most fun experience, and you can usually catch me setting the grass on fire outside my house as I'm working on it. But I can do it, and me doing it myself saves me $50-$100. Cool. Well, I'm not doing it when I'm sick, so that wiped out those months. Now, the problem was I wanted to make sure that there was something special enough in the box set to encourage other people to buy it. Cool. I think that's reasonable. I don't want somebody just to pick up 4 books and be like, "Oh, this is 4 books. Cool." So I for a couple of years, I've had a novella available with my newsletter that is a free download, or was a free download anyways. And I thought, well, let me just take this and I'll drop it in my box set and we'll go from there. Well, problem. It is strongly recommended. You can use any number of my fingers up at any given time to describe that. It's for an author, if you have a newsletter, you want to have, what's the phrase for it? It's not a hook. It's a magnet, a reader magnet. That's the technical phrase for it, which is a free chapter or a free whole book or a free novella or a free digital short. Something that says, hey, if you sign up for my newsletter, you get this title for free. It's a bribe. There's no nice way to put it. I am bribing you to give me your information so I can market to you when I remember that I have a newsletter and feel like it. Studies have shown that authors with active newsletters and active newsletter readers, they generate more sales, they generate more leads, they cultivate better fans. And it is one phase of indie publishing that is like on the top 3 of the special publishing list, the things that you're supposed to do. Well, cool. But my terms and conditions with Amazon state that if I have a book in what they call Kindle Unlimited, which for those of you who don't know is a paid subscription for Amazon, it gives you access to any book that's listed in Kindle Unlimited. You pay it once a month, but then you can download as many books as you want and read them on. I get paid, every author gets paid the first time you read a page in a book they have on KU. So if you make it through 5 pages of Snowflake Summer.
I know where you're going with this.
Right. But if you read like 5 pages of Snowflakes in Summer, I get paid like, I don't know, 5 cents-ish, something like that, because you've read the pages. I don't get paid that if you read those same 5 pages over again, but I get paid the first time. I still make money. I'm happy with it. But they do have the requirement that no more than 10% of your book can be available in any format online for free or at all if you're enrolled in Kindle Unlimited. Now, you can get away with the first chapter of a book, and I do that for all of my books on my website. Anything beyond that, you are in danger Will Robinson territory. So I was like, well, okay, if I'm going to pick this novella and put it in the box set as an incentive for people to buy the box set, oh, crap. So I had to come up with a new novella. And I thought, well, if I'm launching a new series, it needs to be a new novella based off the new series. Fine. I spent a week writing something. It was terrible. I hated it. I quit working on it. Then I thought, well, let me just do a quick novella for something for a Karen, because I've got an idea for that. And we'll just use this for a few months until I come up with something better. Yeah, no, I made it through about 15 pages and was like, well, this is going to be good. And I'm looking forward to working on it later, but it's not what I need. So I started a third novella. And by this point, we are now at Christmas. And the launch for the box set was supposed to be the first weekend of January because I'm smart. And I started writing, and I was like, okay, this is really good. This is working. This is going quick. Well, it was going really quick, and I'm really happy with it. But then I realized that I was about 50,000 words into it in about 3 weeks, which is for me a very blistering pace of writing. And that was about 10,000 words less than where I was with my novel that I'd been advertising for a month, the one I just showed you the cover of. And I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm not giving this away for free. And now my release is in like 3 days. I'm not going to be done with this in time. What am I supposed to do? Which is why now you can go to my website, sign up for my newsletter, and get the first chapter of that for free, even though it hasn't seen a professional editor yet, because that's the world I live in, and that's how I make things worse for myself. And now then there was a really heavy discussion period between myself and my mom and my girlfriend, and we were all just like, what the hell am I going to do with this? Do I finish the novel first? Do I do the novella first? Then my editor, bless her heart, and you actually have her. She is one of your vendors, Amanda Hooser of Amanda Hooser Illustration. She is an author herself. She writes, She's Going to Murder Me. I don't remember what she writes. I think it's young adult paranormal mystery or paranormal romance, something
Well,
along.
she's got two lines of stories going.
So she does a couple of different
stuff
things.
is like YA, and she was trying to separate it from her, I guess, more adult themes and stuff.
I think, don't hold me to that. I love her to death. I have.
I understand. I'm terrible with reading lately because I can't hold my concentration long enough to really get into it. So
same. By the time I am done with words any given day, whether I'm thinking about writing words or actively writing words, I'm done. Like, I will scroll Facebook, I will read a meme, I will read a news article, but if I'm watching TV or watching, playing something on the computer, because it's entertainment and it doesn't involve picking words. It's just this and so I have a horrible time reading. But regardless, I'm going to have to find a new editor because, and again, I say this with all the love in the world, she managed to get a publishing contract with a local publishing company. And she's got like a 3-book deal with them, which is spectacular. She deserves all the accolades in the world, but now she doesn't have time for me. And I don't fault her for that. I absolutely don't, to be perfectly clear. But it's extra work going into this next novel that I am horrified and excited for, because I'm not going to find anybody to give me the same deal she did. Mm-hmm. But this is just one of those things where I was really genuinely, truly nervous about writing this, because my last 11 stories, 7 novels, 3 novellas, and a digital short, have all been Game of Thrones style fantasy, hack and slash, blood, guts, and gore, non-romance fantasy, but fantasy horror. And Necromancer's bullet is sci-fi, dystopia, urban fantasy. You've got cybernetics. You've got borderline cyborgs. You've got fast cars, faster women. You've got wow, that sounds really. That's one of those phrases I think we have to retire for 2023. Now that I just said it out loud. You've got a society that isn't crumbling, but it's way too shiny to be good for anybody's health. Everywhere you go, it's new entertainment looking at you and shining right in your face and all the time. It's a novel where the cultural wars were actual cultural wars between groups that were strictly opposed to people using magic or necromancy or working with without giving too much away, without working with recently unveiled less than typically holy entities that have been working and existing in the world for years, and now they've sort of established themselves as power brokers and just, creatures living amongst people, practicing magic and doing what they do. And then, of course, just imagine if you took America today and introduced the concept of, yes, hell is real. Here are 5 uber demons that now own their own mega corporations. And imagine how well that would go over. So, and just sort of imagine how certain organizations would respond to that and get an idea of what sort of global fractured mess we're in. If you're familiar with Shadowrun and the concept of the 5th Awakening, it's a lot like this. Whereas in Shadowrun, all the events took place in a future-style society. I've rewritten the history of America dating back to 1970, 1942, when the Second Great War and the atrocities generated enough of a fluctuation in the energies of the world that a daemon of war managed to actually completely and physically manifest in our plane of existence. And instead of being interested in taking over the world, he was just happy to be out. And really, hell's not the vacation home a lot of people think it is. So he's out and he's not interested in taking over the world, but he comes out, and then a few years later, his brother comes out, and during the time of Woodstock, his sister comes out, and you get two more that pop up over the next 20 years, and they become accepted in society. Their influence is not always up, hey, I'm a demon, I'm in your face kind of thing, but more of a, hey, have you tried our new product line, Straight from the Bowels of Hell? If you think Diet Coke's addictive now, wait till you try. This kind of stuff. No offense to the Coca-Cola Corporation, but that kind of world where magic exists and magic has existed, and I'm building off of something where, like, how would people actually react to the concept of necromancy? How would government agencies react to the idea of dead men do tell tales? And so this takes place in that framework that's been built up. And cybernetics, cybernetic advancement, and magic are all real things. Magic isn't as hyped up as you probably would expect. It's one of those things that it's there. People accept that it's there, but people largely just treat it as hedge wizard stuff. And what isn't hedge wizard level stuff is really highly regulated. Because if you think politicians like control over what we do with our bodies now, imagine if you have the ability to walk down Main Street and conjure a fireball. You can bet your ass you're walking around with a warning label, 24/7. And that brings me to, yes.
Sorry, that would be a really cool idea, like having like a barcode on someone's neck, identifying them as dangerous person.
It really would, and a lot of that ties back to like the old X-Men stuff, or even the recent X-Men stuff. The mutant identification program and things of that nature.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's a good idea. But when I was working on this, I thought, okay, so I've got a character who's a necromancer. What would his history be like? What kind of a job would a necromancer have in 2047, where cybernetics is a thing, where the internet has metastasized and become something even more invasive and perverse than it is now, where artificial intelligence exists, but it's not really perfect, where corporations are corporations, only jacked up to the nth degree. And I considered, well, if you have somebody who can talk to the dead, who can reanimate the dead, who can get information from the dead, who can jump into their minds and, explore what's in their head, like pull their souls into him and then just sort of like break down their mind. Like you would expect Inception. I actually describe this right now as sort of like a love letter to fans of Shadowrun and Inception, because we're doing a lot of head jumping, we're doing a lot of cybernetics, we're doing magic and that mismatch. What organization would absolutely love to hire somebody like that? And my first thought was the Department of Defense.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I would have said the lawyers.
Lawyers, but where there's lawyers, there's also government. Yeah. And if you don't think that our government wouldn't love to be able to shoot first and then actually ask questions later, I'm not sure we've all lived in the same country. And so I thought, okay, well, so he's Army intelligence. Then I had to go digging for a lot of information on figuring out how Army intelligence is structured. And I do want to thank my friends and family who work in the Department of Defense, who are able to give me some insights about certain divisions, so it doesn't look like I'm completely making things up. There's been a lot of I'm going to be on a watch list research from this. Just straight up, everything from trying to. Being an author is weird. I am not going to talk about my personal opinions on firearms and pew-pew devices. I will say I've never had.
Oh, you've gone quiet.
Can you still hear me?
We can now.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. My phone rang.
Oh.
Because It's a phone. That's sort of what they do. But I've never had a need to really understand how you would sit down if you were carrying a shotgun on your hip. Oh, could I feasibly carry that in under a jacket and not actually be noticed? I mean, sure, they did it in Terminator and The Matrix, but is that feasible or realistic? So, I mean, I'm walking around the house with a broom strapped to my leg, just trying to make sure that I can bend over and pick stuff up with a jacket on. You know, it's 74 degrees in my living room. I'm wearing a jacket, pants optional, and I'm just sort of like posing and stretching with a broom duct taped to my thigh, trying to make sure that, you know, since this was about 3 feet long, I'm good. I've got some PVC. Can I get in? Can I reach it? I'm standing in front of the mirror posing like I'm 14 years old, trying to see, like, you know, and then it's like, wow, I'm watch listed. I am watch listed now. I'm not going to be able to go next to an airport again for the rest of my life. You know, I'm getting the special body cavity surgery.
Oh my.
Just sort of stuff like that. You know, it's one thing to, you know, carry around a sword through the house, but it's another thing trying to make up a mock-up of, you know, a Remington pump action pew pew. Just be like, hey, and then, you know, sending pictures to my girlfriend or my best friend, like, hey guys, can you see if I'm wearing anything under this jacket?
Oh God.
Like the things I wanted to post to Facebook, but I couldn't because I just knew that the next step would be a visit from Vienna Police Department. I wear a trench coat all through the winter anyway, so I know the looks I get being a trench coat American. It's like every time there is a shooting incident in this country, it's like, oh, can't wear the trench coat this week is pretty much because, and I mean this, I'm making light of it because those offenses are horrible, but it actually does happen. There's a reason why I only shop at like the same 5 or 6 stores all the time. Not just because they're close, it's because if I walk into an institution or a school, not a school, but an institution or a store, an institution or a store that doesn't know me during the winter wearing a trench coat, I am automatically followed by like 5 different security personnel, no matter where it is I go. I get the fastest customer service in Lowe's during the winter, and you wouldn't even believe. It's
yeah. Well, Columbine.
Yeah, and again, very valid reasons too. I'm not saying not, but the ways I've been having to come up with ways to describe talking about this in the research on Facebook and my TikTok has just been like, wow, how many words can I use without getting shadow banned for this or getting that flag? It's like everything I post is like, I really am an author. Here's a list to my website. It's not because I'm self-promoting. It's because I don't want to go to jail. But as of right now, I will honestly say, I have been working incredibly hard on this. I've got another project that has been taking up some of my time, and I'm getting ready for convention season. So I can't say when it's going to be released. I'm hoping, if things settle-ish, to have a full draft done by the end of next month, very early, or end of this month, or very early April. But I had to scrap most of my outline, start over again for like the back third of the book, which is fine. You know, sometimes things change, plans change. It's going to be a better book, but excuse me, I'm genuinely concerned because everybody who's seen it has been like, "Oh my God, this cover is great! I can't wait to read it." I'm like, "Yeah, neither can I." And then at the same time, it's like, "Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait. Can't wait
to do it."
like I haven't. It's like this is my honeymoon all freaking yay. Here we go. I'm terrified. How bad can we screw this up?
You're gonna do great. You're gonna do great. Take your time at it.
I appreciate the vote of confidence, and this is definitely a perk to being an indie author. Like I said, I'm not subject to a publisher or whatever. So if I get to the last chapter and decide that 2 chapters have to be thrown out, they have to be thrown out. I don't have somebody holding my, debit card, my checking account next to my ear, finish it now, or else this is going to get it. I mean, like, yeah, it's gonna get it, but when you're the one holding the knife, it feels safer. And again, we're back to the watch list kind of. When I'm the one holding the knife, it's a lot safer for me, and I feel so much better. Yeah, right.
Oh, when you heard about those purse strings, it feels a lot more comfortable when you're the ones that they're, okay, am I cutting the purse strings or not?
It's like I'm sitting back and I'm watching my checking account deplete. Okay, that one's your fault. That one's your fault. That one's your fault. If you'd finished it by now, maybe you could afford your drink. No. Oh, that one's your fault. Oh, look, guess who's not getting Diet Coke at McDonald's this month? Ha ha! Write a book, asshole.
Oh, man. So since we've kind of talked about the new book and everything and your newsletter and stuff, let's go back and talk a little bit about creative cosplay and the stuff that you've been doing with that. I know you're working on the 501c3.
501c3 registration. Let me first tell you the story about how we came about as what we were doing. Back in 2018, I had registered for the annual homecoming parade in Parkersburg, West Virginia, and I had done it under the banner of the Ghostbusters West Virginia division, which was great. That was what I was doing at the time. That was the only thing I was doing at the time. I was just working with the WVGs. And the rule for the parade was you have to raise money for it to buy food and donate it. Okay. Now, excuse me, I said homecoming parade. I meant the Christmas parade. So we raised money. We raised about $180. We walked the parade. Did not hear anything else from it whatsoever. All right, fine. Wasn't it what we didn't think it was an award-winning float or anything of that nature at all. Just, it was a way to see people have fun, entertain the crowd, do what we do. Well, fast forward to August of 2019, I go to register for the Parkersburg Homecoming Parade, which is a big event up here in the Parkersburg area. It's declined over the years, but it's still a major thing for downtown Parkersburg. And went to go register, and I got a contact. I was like, oh yeah, hey, we weren't sure who to contact, but wanted to let you know you won first place at the Christmas parade for food donations. We did what? Yeah, you donated the most food out of all the other floats. Now, I say this with all the respect I can muster, which admittedly probably isn't as much as I should. For the other floats who participated, let me be very clear, that year specifically, there were multiple politicians. Every high school marching band in the freaking state, I think, was up there, or at least the Tri-County area. Everything from bail bondsmen, fire departments, people running for various offices and all this, all sponsoring parade, all with floats, all with their beautiful floats, people who were doing wonderful jobs, entertaining the crowd, nothing against that. But somehow, $180 to the first place. And Alicia Gully, my best friend in the whole wide world, best friend I've ever had in my life, she and I got that award. They actually gave us a plaque, which is great. We got that award and we looked at it and said, are you? And decided, look, if 180 is first place, this is one of the most offensive things we've seen in a while. And decided, all right, we're gonna do it again next year, and we're actually gonna put some stank on it. We're gonna really work this thing out. And that year we raised $500. Got first place again. All right, so that's 2018, that's 2019, 2020. We all remember what happened in 2020.
2020 was a lost year.
The Christmas parade, we weren't even sure what was going to happen. We didn't know. And we thought, well, we looked at the world and we're like, oh shit, we're screwed. And I was watching the reports of food banks scrambling, was talking to people. I know people who had been laid off work. You know, I saw my own income, which is largely dependent on stuff I had inherited and disability, and the income that I had from selling the books at conventions. And I was like, oh, hey, like this all just vanished. Now it's gone. And we knew that people were struggling, so I thought, well, we'll try to do something. Whether or not the parade happens, we're still going to sit down and we're still going to raise money. Don't know how much we're going to do, but we're going to find a way to support our pantries. The parade ended up being what they called a reverse parade. And I give credit to the organizers for making it as good as they possibly did. I'm going to leave it at that. But it was as good as they could possibly do in the situation. I have full respect for them for doing it. I don't mean that sarcastically. It was a cluster. There is just no nice way to put it. But it wasn't their fault. They wanted leaders to do something, and they needed to do something that would keep the crowd safe, and they needed to do something that kept the volunteers safe. And I personally feel that with the constraints they had, they did a great job. And I feel that with the constraints that we had, the fact that we raised $1,200 that year was absolutely jaw-dropping and spectacular. So we went from 180 to 524 to 12 something. 2021, things are starting to get back to normal by December of 2021. We picked up 19,000 in donations, or 1,900 donations. And last year, despite the fact that I was fighting through COVID and had to abandon about a third of my plans total, and look, I don't know how receptive your audience is to discuss the pandemic, but long COVID is a thing and it sucks. I still have issues with exhaustion even 7 months later. Yeah. 7 months later, I still feel like I have just, ready to fall over. But we've come a long way. Unfortunately, we would have done better last year, but we had one organization that had donated almost $500 to us the previous year pull out because we weren't a 501c3. We had a local festival decline us because we didn't have tax exempt status. And we didn't have insurance protection. All right, reasonable. That's understandable. I disagreed with the decision, but I'll accept it for what it is. When I'm playing in somebody else's sandbox, I have to follow the rules. We were notified by one of our smaller corporate sponsors that because we weren't tax exempt, they wouldn't be able to help us out next year. And then the ruling from the IRS had passed 2021. It was supposed to kick in 2022, but it didn't for the 2022 tax year for what they call the 1099K forms. And I don't know if you or your audience is familiar with that, but that's the new tax requirement that if you make over, is it 250, 500 in online digital transactions through like PayPal or eBay or any other digital cash marketplace like that, you'll be issued a 1099K form for miscellaneous income. And since the vast majority of our donations come in through PayPal, well, having to claim an extra $2,000 on my taxes was not something that I personally felt cool with at all. Just for reasons. I don't like paying taxes, but I understand why. That's the thing. I mean, you can't receive public assistance and be like, yeah, but I don't want to give you money for it. That's not how any of this works. It sucks, but life is life. So we looked at it as like, well, if we don't get legal now-ish, we're not going to be able to do as much as we can. Yeah. And so we've been batting it around off and on all through 2022. And when we hit mid-November this last season, we'd only raised about $1,200. We did more than $1,000 in donations in a week and a half period at the end of November. And again, our fundraising period ends the first week of December. And we looked at that and we were like, oh, cool, this is wonderful. Oh, this is a lot of money. We're starting to hit real money territory. And so, as luck would have it, I'm friends with a lady in Charleston who knows how to write corporate bylaws. And she knows how to file for tax exempt status. And she's helped other companies do it before. And she volunteered out of the goodness of her heart to write our bylaws for us to keep them within IRS guidelines, to show me where to go to file for the state, tax forms and all that, and how to find the 1099, or sorry, the 501c3 easy filing form, which is a new service the IRS has had for the last couple of years, English service, that cut the filing fee down from close to $800 down to $275. Wow. And while $275 is still a decent chunk of our yearly operating budget, it confers a lot of benefits to us that I did not realize it conferred when we were looking at it. Some of the things, and please feel free to correct me if I am mistaken in any of these, but to my understanding, some of the things we're protected with we'll have some liability protection. We'll be operating as an entity instead of individuals. We'll have the ability to file for tax exempt status. Won't have to pay taxes on the income we receive. People who donate to us will be able to write it off on their own taxes. Oh, hey, I donated $500 to a charity. Here's their 501c3 status. Yep. Cool. That makes a difference to people. Maybe only if I said I hadn't done it a couple of times myself. I don't want tax exempt status to be why somebody donates to us to try to get out of the tax bill. But hey, I don't care where the money comes from. It's coming to me to spend to help people. I don't care. Give me your cash and I'll spend it on something I like. For charity, clarifying, for charity. For the rest of the time, give me your money and I'll spend it on stuff that I like. I don't care if you like it or not. Buy my books, please. The other times, give me your money for charity, and I'll make sure that your money that you may have raised doing illicit stuff, I don't care, goes to helping support people who are hungry. I don't care. Fine. But if we can get all that legal status, in addition to that, we also feel that it will help us establish ourselves in the immediate area. And I've always said that if you volunteer with us, I'm happy to serve as a reference for a job or college or whatever. If you're part of an award-winning charity float at a parade, cool. I think that would look good on a resume. Maybe I'm crazy. If you could say that you volunteered with a 501c3 organization, an actual honest-to-God charity organization, and you won awards doing it, I would think that would look good on somebody's CVS. Mm-hmm. Go to CVS, right? Covered thing. And so I think it gives us CVs. Thank you. I keep confusing CV with CVS, and it's like one of them gives me a receipt, the other one gives me a job. I can't remember which one of these it is.
One's just a job to read.
Now, if you want a job to read, I have books. I'm not paying you. That's not where this flow direction goes. But at the end of the day, I see doing this gives me personally 3 things and gives everybody else around me 2 things. For me personally, like I mentioned, I've been on public assistance most of my adult life. I am grateful for it. I don't know how I would have been able to survive without it. I am glad that I have found ways to adapt around and do what I can. I'm certainly not earning minimum wage. The minimum wage at this point would be awesome. Fun fact, the vast majority of authors, something like 90 to 95% of all authors ever make lower than poverty level wages during the course of their entire career. Just throwing that note out there. So if you have a friend who's working as an author, chances are good they're not doing it for the money. Just throwing that out there. But this is a way for me to be able to say, well, I have time on my hands that other people do not have. When my head isn't killing me, I can send an email. It doesn't matter whether I send that email at 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. I can send that email. I'm not beholden to anybody else or anybody else's time frame except for one deadline. That's it. If I can fight my demons and do my work and provide for the community, then while I may not be giving back as much on a dollar-to-dollar basis as I'm doing otherwise, we are at least making a difference for people who will never know who it was or why that food was there, but it's food that somebody needed for themselves, for their family, to make their lives easier. And it's, for me, it's a way that I have found that I am capable of giving back to my local community. Whether I am laying on the couch with an ice pack on my neck, waiting for swelling to go down, or whether I am, in cosplay and not working and doing a thing for a few hours, and then I lose the next 2 or 3 days being on the couch for the headache that I'll get for it. At least I am trying to find a way to make the world a better place. At least I'm trying to find a way to build up my community around me and take advantage of, while I'm not happy about my situation, at least take advantage of the time that my situation has given me to try to make a difference and try to build something that lasts for longer than I'll be cosplaying. So that's for me, that's number one. For two, we're providing a way and a cause for our friends and our communities and our workplaces to get behind and say, hey, my coworker is dressing up as a princess and she's going out and she's buying food and they're giving it to local pantries. Yeah, sure, I'll donate $5 to that because I think that's cool. Would that same person have donated $5 to a different charity cause? Maybe. Maybe not. If I'm providing an environment where people are able to be entertaining in a way that convinces people around them to also want to do good, whether they dress up, whether they go out shopping, or whether they just cut a $50 check. Hey, that's another opportunity for the people around them to make a difference. And then we take the difference that each individual is making and we funnel all towards one common unique goal. That is expanding. So it's no longer just me doing something for my community. It's my friends and communities all over the area doing something and bringing it to my community and building up my community, which, love or hate Parkersburg, we're the third largest metro area in West Virginia. You've got the Charleston, Huntington area, you've got Parkersburg, Belpre, Marietta, Ohio, all in the same 20-minute radius. You've got Morgantown. We're number 3 behind Morgantown. I feel that this area is important, even though it's economically depressed, socially isolated, in the middle of absolutely everything with very little to do here. But there are 50,000 people that live in this immediate area. And an inordinate number of them need assistance. The more people we help here, the more that trickles back out to the other surrounding communities. And lastly, the other thing that it's doing for myself, and I feel what it does for my volunteers, is we go to comic conventions and pop culture. We go to comic conventions and pop culture conventions. We do our thing there. We dress up, we interact with our peers, our friends, our families, you know, the people we buy from, you know, the stuff that we do for the fun of it. And we have a good time. More often than not, we're going out there to go have fun and to dress up and show off our skills. When we take what we've done that we do for fun and we bring it into the community in places that you wouldn't necessarily expect to see it. Now, let me be clear, nobody's dressing up and going into Walmart to buy food at 3 o'clock in the afternoon for a food pantry. That would be weird. That is not the time nor the place to go out and cosplay. I'm a big fan of being a spectacle and making a spectacle, but there are times and places for spectacles. This world is a little too weird right now to be going out and, you know, oh, I almost said a bad word, attention something or other for personal gain. That's not what we're doing. But taking concept of cosplay and going to a festival, going to a fundraiser being hosted by a local business, going to a parade, going to a cosplay themed cookout, going outside of the convention circuit and interacting with people who don't know that there are Comic Cons in the area, who aren't used to seeing a princess or a stormtrooper or, in my case, a Ghostbuster at their local park or, you know, store or Market Street or at the mall. And we get to bring the magic of cosplay and costuming and the artisanal talents, whether it's 3D printing or sewing or design or foam or whatever it is, and showing people that, hey, if you want to be creative, here's an outlet for it. And not only is there an outlet for it, but you can do good with that. You can inspire the people in your community. You can raise funds in your community. You can improve the lives of the people around you. I think being able to provide that and having that available is good for the people who are volunteering with us. And it's also good as a whole for the children in our communities. As I mentioned, Parkersburg is an economically depressed area. There are a lot of people on the outskirts and in the middle of this town who do not have access to safe and healthy home environment or healthy meals or safe after school programs or parks where they can always, just be very careful there in phrasing this, parks where they can always feel safe. Our parks are safe, but public places are public places, and you don't always feel that level of comfort at certain hours of the day. And there are certain places in town that I have told my girlfriend I don't think it's safe for her to go to unattended. Not that she's not capable of, you know, flattening somebody on her own if she had to, but it's like, look, you walk in this area, I know that there are individuals who would see you as, you know, a potential victim in the making, and nobody wants that for their families. So being able to reach out and inspire people to do better, to build more things, to look into the arts and the crafts and things of that nature, and do something other than just, oh, hey, it's Friday night, it's sports. Oh, hey, it's Friday night. Why aren't we out making some new things with our friends? Nothing wrong with sports per se, but it's just another avenue for people to explore. And I really think there's a certain level of magic to that, to help encourage the local youth and to put smiles that, you know, the kids may not remember seeing the Ghostbuster at the park. And if they don't, that's fine. But I will remember every single interaction that I've had. Case in point, I was at the mall, I don't know, Monday, I think, Saturday, something like that. And I was in standard civilian attire, just jeans, shirt. You know, I wasn't even wearing a Ghostbusters hat. I just had my Ghostbusters lanyard on. and this little boy ran up to me. And I'm walking, I'm spaced out, I'm playing Pokemon Go. And this little boy ran up to me and tugged on my jacket. I'm like, oh, what did I do? What did I do? And I look down, and he's wearing a shirt that's got the no circle on it. No, not the no ghost, just a circle with a slash through it. And he looked up at me and said, he didn't think there would actually be Ghostbusters at the mall today. And his grandmother standing behind him goes, we saw your car in the parking lot and had a feeling that there might be a Ghostbuster here this afternoon. And I'm just like, oh, and like, for one, like my brain just completely mushed right there on the spot. I was like, wow. I just looked at this. Yeah, it's okay. I am here today. I'm in my civilian clothes, but we're out here keeping a watch. Sometimes we come out just to keep a watch on things so the ghosts don't know we're actually here. You know, it's like, oh, that's a great idea. And he was like super excited. And his grandmother was like, yeah, thank you for stopping. And I was like, oh, no, thank you. I mean, the little boy may not remember this 2 years from now. They'll may not remember it next week. I'm going to remember that somebody saw my Jeep with the Ghostbusters logo on it at the mall on a busy Saturday in freaking February, and came into the mall excited that they might see a local Ghostbuster. I know who I am as a person. I write murder, violence, gore-filled books as what I'm trying to do for a career. I see myself in the mirror every day, and for 5 minutes on an otherwise nondescript Saturday afternoon, I was somehow a hero in the eyes of a little boy. And for me personally, that's amazing. That's life. That's something that I've given to the community that I hope I might be remembered for. And if I can make a little boy smile like that at a total random day, then I don't know how much of an impact I'm having the rest of the time. And if I can encourage others to work towards having that impact too, I think that's a halfway decent thing for me to do with my time.
Agreed.
That's cool.
Just maybe. I don't know. Your mileage may vary.
Well, kind of, not really along those lines, but along the lines of Parkersburg. We were gonna ask you about Classic Plastics since it's this coming weekend. We're taping this on March 2nd. So by the time it's released, Classic Plastics will have occurred.
Yes.
But
Classic Plastics Toy Comic Expo has been running now, I think, for 8 years. I think this is their 8th year running. They did have to take a year off due to the pandemic. They are being hosted by the Parkersburg Arts Center, and I'm fuzzy on this, so don't take this as solid gospel, but I believe it's about 50% of the ticket price to get in the doors actually goes back to the Arts Center. I actually maybe ticket price, maybe vendor price too. I know that it is a very sizable donation that goes to support the Arts Center in downtown Parkersburg. Now, the Arts Center itself, not only is it, an art center, it's sort of there in the name. They provide classes for pottery, for painting. They provide children's activities. They are a venue for special events and economic gatherings. I went to one of my best friend's weddings there that they hosted. Beautiful Zelda-themed wedding, which blew my mind. They are a great organization. And the fact that Plastic Plastics, which is a locally owned and operated toy store by Tony Workman up here in Parkersburg, He's got 2 other branch locations, one in Athens at Peddler's Junction, one up in Canton, Ohio at the mall up there. He's able to give back to the community with the Art Center. He gives back to the community by supporting other cosplay groups. He is my brick and mortar sponsor for Plastics. He supports the Ghostbusters West Regional Division. He does a wonderful job at his community. So I'm honored to go there. I'm honored to be part of it. I've been a part of every event that he's put on in one form or another. It is my home convention. It is 10 minutes away from my house, which makes it. Listen, I love y'all. I do. I love y'all down in HerdCon. I love all my friends in Charleston. I love my friends in Sandusky and places north. I am so sick of having to drive everywhere to do anything. It's like, oh yeah, there's a convention. Oh yeah, there's a social gathering. Oh yeah, hey, House I-77. Is what it is. It's cute. That's fine. That's what I-77 is. So having something here local is super critical and super integral. And again, we're an economically depressed area. We are not the most cultural centric area in all of West Virginia. I love my family and friends here. I do. We are not the poster child for diversity or cultural awareness. And we are certainly not the focal point for nerd culture. If you had asked me for any qualifiable city in the country that I would think that I could sit down and sell books full of angels and demons and bloodshed and beheading, I probably could have picked better than here, where some of my friends in the book community call this a literary black hole. Which, for the record, is not something that the local Arts and Economic Forum likes to hear said out loud. Like, here's our list of all of our upcoming art events. Cool, there's absolutely nothing here about books. You're all aware that this place is called a literary black hole, aren't you? Who says that? People in the publishing industry. Oh. Well, okay. Like, I'll follow y'all on how to pick up a book. I've seen how you fund the libraries. Could be regardless. All I'm going to say about that is Senator Azinger's office is directly down the street from my house. Just look up Senator Azinger and West Virginia libraries. That's all I'm going to say. But anyways, yeah, Classic Plastics is going to be this weekend. Now, I do recommend following the Classic Plastics toy store page. He sells more than just plastic toys. He does sell modern stuff, things from vendors like NECA. Definitely sells a ton of pops. He is one of the area's best video game retailers. He sells plushies of all shapes and sizes. He has a party room. And all of this stuff at the store. He's also got some other upcoming plans that I'm not at liberty to discuss for the rest of the year that I think will be really exciting. And far as I am aware, Classic Plastics will be back. Now, they do run, just so everybody knows, they do run every year the first weekend of March. That's when he's got the Art Center book. That is their agreement. And that's when he has been running, I don't know, at least 5 or 6 out of the last 8 years. He is the longest running convention of any kind up here in the Parkersburg area. I think the next closest convention center that's run longer than his have been events down in Charleston. There's really, Charleston or Columbus. So, I mean, it's 2 hours one way or 2 hours the other way or 2 hours to Huntington. So when I say he's the longest running in the area, I mean, he's the longest running event of its kind in the area. Not that there aren't other festivals and things of that nature, but there's a big difference between a toy and comic expo and a pop culture convention and an anime convention versus the Mothman Festival, which I do dearly love, is it's not the same beast. So I'll be there. I'll be there on the third floor, along with my partner in crime, Alicia Gully, with the Z-Movement Studios. And I'm also going to be briefly, very briefly, taking the stage at the start of the cosplay contest this year to discuss CA cosplay and doing support of our event. So, yeah, really looking forward to working with him this weekend and looking forward to his support all year round. He is one of the best human beings I think I've ever met in my life. So I can't speak highly enough of him.
Awesome. Oh man. Now I know you're planning on being here at HerdCon.
Yes, absolutely.
A couple weeks away. Blows my mind. The countdown has been going on in my household for 6 months, and
you have 3 weeks. Don't say 2 weeks. Don't say 2 weeks because I'm not available in 2 weeks. I have other plans in 2 weeks. You are in 3 weeks.
We're at 3 weeks, but still, just that idea that it's hitting us so quickly. So, so what are you looking forward to for this? Will be your, gosh,
second year participant.
In person, because you did help, or you did do some of the virtual stuff with us for 2020 for pandemic.
Right, I did. So for the pandemic HerdCon, I was there. I was there for your first HerdCon. I unfortunately had to miss last year due to a scheduling conflict, but life happens.
Yep.
I don't know. I would say as much as I love my hometown, where I'm from, there is not as much of a market for adult-oriented material as there is for child-friendly material or things of that nature. I don't write children's books, and I don't write stuff that is West Virginia-centric. Even in my new novel, I don't think I've even uttered the words West Virginia once. Forgive me. But while I am a big fan of cryptids and things of that nature, in my first 11 books, it was all about my own stuff or my own take on vampires and zombies and ghosts and creatures of that nature. Same thing with the next book. The number one thing that I'm really looking forward to most about coming down to HerdCon is the fact that it is a college campus. I always seem to do very well interacting with college students. And I usually get some of the best sales I get interacting with people in that age group. So I'm excited to see the creative minds that are down at Marshall University. I'm excited to see some of the cosplays that our people are going to come up with. I am excited to get a chance to meet some of our future leaders and future, pillars of society, even if they don't realize it yet, who are down there and working there. And if they pick up one of my books and find an influence out of that, or if they talk to us about CA cosplay and decide to get an influence out of that, I think that's spectacular. And so I'm looking forward to just interacting with. I don't feel like I'm 41. I still feel about like I did when I was in college. I'm not moving as quickly as I used to, but I don't feel being more mature or grown up. So talking to college age kids is like, oh, cool. Hey, I do all of that except the drinking still. Yeah. Ignore the bald spot. I'm not that creepy old guy that's just, hanging around at a college convention, just like, no, I'm here selling books and to interact. And I'm just one of you with the bald spot covered up. Is like, how are you doing, fellow college kids?
Fun. Our demographics all over the place.
I went to WV, trust me, I know. So yeah, I'm excited to meet adults, and I'm excited. Wow, that sounded wonky, didn't it? I'm excited to meet adults. That doesn't sound questionable at all. No,
sounds much more like one of the statements I would make as a parent. Just I'm excited to be around other adults.
I do not have kids of my own. I determined a long time ago I would not be the best father in the world. And with chronic migraines, the idea of having a baby just sort of like, oh yeah, you know what else is fun? Diving through a closed window. We'll just get a hold of the Putin Express there and just go right through a plane crash window. Total accident. That's better than having a crying child. So when I'm out at events and interacting as a Ghostbuster, it's all kids all the time, which is great because I can interact with a kid. I can talk to one. They can hug me. They can, we can do a coloring sheet together, whatever. And then I give them back. It's like, here you go. Here you go. But there is a reason I'm usually the guy that is out there doing the spiel about the community stuff and not the spiel about being, trapping a class 5 or whatever. It's not that I can't, and I have fun with that. I'm more adult oriented with my line of thinking. I can't say half the stuff that comes out of my mouth when I'm around a kid. Again, I do love kids. And I do love interacting with them, and I do love inspiring them. But I also love, here you go, have them back. You're good. We're all good here. Now, can I tell you about this novel? So I know that HerdCon is a very family-friendly place. People will be bringing their kids. But there is a tremendous difference between a college campus, where you have people with disposable income, and a open to the public, an off-campus kind of event that's open, that's targeted specifically at bringing a family experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so.
I worked a convention last year. Amazing. It was a great convention. I had nothing bad to say about the convention. Probably the cleanest con I've ever been to. Up in Altoona, PA, I had been under the impression that it was a largely adult-oriented event. Not that people were selling, sex toys and, inappropriate material left and right. They weren't. I wasn't expecting that kind of adult. No, we're not going to Love It Fest. They had some really great voiceover guests and cartoon guests from the 1980s. And I thought, wow, this is going to be stocked with people my age who are going to be coming here. Yeah, it was. And apparently they didn't get the memo that they didn't have to bring their kids. And so it was like wall-to-wall kids. And again, I'm fine with that. But I'm selling murder gore books. I have a specific sign on my table that says not for kids. And parents, I love you all. I love you to death. I know you all don't have a lot of time to read. And when your time to read is minimal, you're probably not dropping $80 on a 8-book series. I get that. I respect that. I love you for it because you're supporting your families. But who's here to sell books? I got things. And college kids are that sweet spot of potentially disposable income and time to kill where they should be doing other things, and I respect that too.
Yes. There's always that tendency to procrastinate. So that was much of my college experience.
I'm not going to say what I did in college. There's a reason I got kicked out of journalism, and only half of it was because the professors didn't know what they were talking about. So yeah, like I said, I'm really excited to get a chance to meet future leaders and like-minded individuals. Awesome. Find people that are more suitable for my nerdy way of thinking, I guess, than you necessarily can. And there is no way I'm going to say this isn't going to make me disagree. Some of the more rural areas of West Virginia.
Okay.
Like I said, Parkersburg, love it to death. It's not a haven of nerd culture. I'm just going to leave it there.
Well, and that is the beauty of our conventions and stuff, is that chance to get out there with some people with similar interests that you might not get to hang out with in day-to-day life. So yeah.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, I completely understand.
Yeah. And I think it's healthy for the local community to have those events around to bringing in people. Mm-hmm. And, because you the people who have been doing this stuff for a while, meeting the people who didn't know this stuff existed. And it's a way to spread that sort of cultural impact. And I do believe that cosplay is a cultural impact. It is a cultural phenomenon. And I think it is I am so glad to see how it has grown in acceptance from being something that nerds did, halfway in the closet 20 years ago, as it were, to something that you see in the newspaper and you're not like, oh, what the hell was that? It's like, oh, hey, they're back in town. We have to go check that out. The excitement between the two of that and the magic of like, hey, I didn't know you could do that. Yeah, you can do this. You want to know how I did it? How? Well, let's see. This took cardboard form tube and some Bondo, and there's some PVC. Like, wait a minute, this is the stuff you buy off the shelf. Yeah. You made this? Unfortunately. But you're so good at it. No, I'm really not. Would you like to see my lowest bill? It will agree with me. Like, I have bought more stuff out of the floating aisle than the bloomers I know. Excuse me.
All right.
Oh, right.
Well, I think we're about ready to wrap up. But yeah,
Okay.
I mean, for one, thank you. Of
No
course,
problem.
for
Happy
being
to be
with
here.
us. We love it. We can't wait to see you. Like I
Yeah.
said, a few weeks, 3 weeks now. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Now,
Yay!
Yeah.
for your audience, for anybody that sees this before HerdCon, I have no idea where you're sticking me. I just know that I was requested to be next to Busy Bee Studios.
Oh, yes.
So please don't forget. Subtle personal nod, please. She sells earrings, and I mooch off people that come to her table. I will be there with books. I will be selling all 4 books of the Battles of Coldstone Summit, starting with Snowflakes in Summer, Dead Men in Winter, Slag Harbor, and Favorite Things. And I'll also be selling all 4 paperbacks of the Aromancer's Exorcism with Insanities or Respite, Insanities or Rapture, Insanities or Reckoning, and Insanities or Requiem. I will have a sign-up sheet that you can scan with your phone or other digital device to go get the first chapter of Necromancer's Bullet. I don't think, and I'm dreadfully sorry for this, I don't think I'll have any other things to bring with me for HerdCon this year. I tried. I swear that I tried to have something new. It's breaking. I was honestly like angry to the point of tears that I realized that January had hit and that I had January and February to come up with new merchandise for 3 events in March. I was like, oh, this is the first quarter. This is almost the first half year of the convention season for me. I don't have anything new. So I'm glad to be at HerdCon because the last time I was there a couple of years ago, I didn't have half this stuff. So I'm genuinely hoping that people can come up and if they thought about buying books before they buy some this year, because I have a lot of new expenses for later this year. I'm planning on a couple of the goal is 1 full novel this spring or summer, and then at least 2, if not 3, novellas before the end of the year.
Oh,
the
wow.
novellas will more than likely just be digital only. So I'm sort of banking my year on this. But I'm hoping that if this does well, then the novellas will do well too. It's sort of the hope. And then by the beginning of next season, have at least another couple novels or have those novellas turned into a paperback. That's where I'm at. So that's what I'll have this year.
Oh, that's exciting though. That is very exciting.
Thank you. And for anybody that wants to learn more about CA cosplay, please feel free to stop by my booth. I'll be more than happy to tell you about it. I'll have a donation bucket out for us. We're expecting to have our 501c3 filing made by middle of next week. End of next week at the latest. We're just about done fundraising for filing fee, so we're excited. Panicked but excited. That's sort of the story of my life. Panicked but excited.
Well, definitely keep us up to date on how everything's going with the 501c or 501c3. There we go. I can't get some letters in the right order.
No, and it is super confusing too, especially speaking cosplay. Oh, you're signing up at the 501st. No, I'm signing up at the 501c3. Now, one thing I did want to tell your audience, I mentioned that I do work and I'm on the management team of the Ghostbusters West Virginia Division.
Mm-hmm.
If you have searched for us over the last couple of months and then like, oh, guess they all quit. No. We sponsored a toy drive back in December, a national and a global toy drive. It was picked up by Ghost Corps, which is Sony's PR wing for Ghostbusters. So they're the general interface between Sony's PR people and the Ghostbusters franchise, which they support us, they support what we do. They don't complain that we use their merchandise to advertise their movie. Fine, it's a win-win for everybody involved. They put our logo and the logos of, I don't know, a dozen and a half other franchises throughout the world linked to various Ghostbusters fan pages. And 3 days later, the Facebook algorithm came down like the wrath of God. And they depublished, I don't know, half a dozen different franchise Facebook pages and news pages and fan groups. And like in our case, they said that our page was unpublished due to community standards violations. Okay, you click on the button that says community standards violations. No violations to show you're in good standing. Wonderful. And we've just been categorically exhausting our appeals. We're still here. We're still alive. We still have plans for the summer, this fall, for the upcoming new movie in December. We are planning on being back at Mothman. We're planning on being at other events throughout this year. CA Cosplay and Ghostbusters West Virginia Division will be at the Blenheim Hassett Hotel in Parkersburg, West Virginia on the 18th of March, doing the Paranormal Expo up here. We're still alive, we're still well, we're still in business. We just happen to lose, the one and only source of communication we have with anybody. We've effectively given up on Facebook right now. We've got one more appeals idea that I just thought of this morning. And if it doesn't pan out, then we're making a new Facebook page and getting a web domain host and just, I don't want to say we're starting from ground up because the organization is there, but just the community reach. So the Ghostbusters West Virginia Division, still alive and well, still ready to believe you, still excited to raise funds to support the Children's Home Society of West Virginia. We're just currently muted because somebody decided to be dumb, is the only I can just yeah. I understand. I do. Facebook cracking down on places that are engaging in copyright infringement and trademark infringement. As an author, I have more issues than you guys would know with copyright laws and other things of that nature that I'm constantly tripping over. And I respect the fact they're trying to do their best to clean up the hellscape and wasteland that they themselves are partially responsible for. On the other hand, a 1-800 number ain't that expensive, Zuckerberg. Get one and provide some customer support for customers that you're selling as profit. But that's just me, and that is a statement from Joshua Smith, person, individual, and not a reference from any cosplay organization or other organization I may be part of. That is a personal opinions of, and that is just my personal opinion. It should not be construed otherwise. And I assume I will get a strongly worded letter from management in a couple of days. All right, anyways. So they're still there. CA Cosplay stuff is still here. It's just one of those things where we've been trying to not have to buy entirely new business cards. Just being pragmatic about it, trying to solve this without spending, everything.
Amen. Well, and when you're in for charity, it is expenses are important. I mean, you're trying to do things so that you're actually putting that funding towards your charity. So yeah, you don't want to
Absolutely.
waste it on redoing something that you should have already had. Yeah.
No, exactly. I mean, if you're going to pay me $50, I actually felt bad. I feel bad about running a small fundraiser to pay for CA Cosplay's 501c3 status, because $300 isn't a whole lot, but it's real money. You know, in this economy, 300 is 300. You could make my day by handing me 300, just straight up. I'm gonna lie to you about that. Make a lot of people's day by handing them, 3 C-bills and calling it a day. But we need it to do what we need to do. And while I would rather you hand me a $50 check and say go buy food with it, this $300 we can hopefully use to earn an extra 1,000 this year that we couldn't have without it. So I'm calling it an investment, but yeah, like in the WVGB's case, yeah, $100 in business cards, really going to be unpleasant isn't the right word, but I don't want to get your podcast banned. If you're going to give me $100, I'd like to, use it to buy toys instead of putting it towards back-end stuff. And just to be completely clear, the funding for the Ghostbusters is almost entirely by our volunteers. It's not something where we're taking people's monies and not spending it on toys or spending it on back-end stuff. We don't do that. We do have a small overhead of like 20% that we take from donations we receive, but the less we can make our overhead, the better. And having to, buy a whole brand new bunch of stuff this year, it's when it comes out of our pockets, it's still, it's money we could have donated instead.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Makes sense.
Well, keep us informed about how things go if you guys get the page republished or a new page published, and we will be sure to share that.
The worst case scenario is I'm planning on getting a web domain in the next couple of days to cover it. We'll just use it as a domain reference to wherever we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much of that I was supposed to say out loud. So.
All right. Well, thank you again, Josh, for being here with us today. I mean, it's been great, and we're really excited to have you back at HerdCon. We're excited for Classic Plastics coming up this weekend, and just love seeing what you guys have done with the creative cosplay, because I've been watching you grow, and I love it.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your support for us, too. It does make all the difference.
Yeah. We love seeing the inspiration that people take from pop culture and how they can put it to use, making the world around them better. And I mean, you guys have really done that, and we love it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all very much for it, and I do appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll see you this weekend.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it. So you guys be careful, and I will see you soon.
All right. Be careful. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for the podcast. And as always, stay geeky and have some fun, and we'll chat with you soon. All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.